In this lesson, we'll work with some DWG floor plans for our presentation. Alright, so now that we've taken care of our perspectives, our elevations, scaling images, using scrapbooks to add titles, I want to jump into one thing we didn't cover in our last lesson, and that's image quality before we jump into getting our floor plans in place. So if you scroll in a little bit here, you'll notice from a distance these look really nice. Some really thin looking line work, looks really good, right? But if you scroll in a little bit closer, you'll notice it's pretty pixelated and it can get a little bit confusing with all these gray, different shades of gray going on. So what we could actually do is we can actually come up to our model, and I'm going to do this on pretty much all of these here. I'm going to select each one of these by going Shift. Come here to your SketchUp model, and we actually have some things we can actually work with here. And what we're going to work with down here is this area that says raster. So if you go on that triangle, go to the drop down. If we switch this from a rastered image to a vector image, we're going to get this message and to say, well, while this is good for line drawings, like in our case elevations, it might not represent complex styles. Now we have a really simple style, so this is actually going to be beneficial for us, and it'll actually get rid of some of that pixelated choppiness and weird gray color. So I'm going to say OK, and because we selected 4 of them, it's going to take SketchUp quite some time to kind of do their calculations or whatever to get these images done. But what I want you to do is pay attention to the images kind of here in the background. You'll notice a change once this command is actually complete. Now, I showed you this now just so we can have a complete set of elevations and perspectives. It's a possibility we may end up doing the same technique once we work with those DWG files that are back in our model. So basically we're going to link back up to this model to get our floor plans in place. So now when I scroll in, you can see the true quality of this image, and it reads a lot better. There's not all these gray, choppy rectangles floating around, and it's not super pixelated like it was before. So you can actually affect your quality doing that. So keep that in mind when you're working. What might look good from far out might not really, be the true representation of what your image looks like. So you have that option here. Again, that's under SketchUp model, and when you click on your image, you can either go vector, raster, or hybrid. And hybrid will eat up a lot of time. It's basically doing calculation for both of these, so keep that in mind as well. So now that we got this taken care of, I think we're ready to move on to our floor plans and elevations. So what we're going or sections. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a floor plan. We're going to bring those in. I'm going to show you how we can utilize those DWGs that we spent so much time working on, and we don't have to actually waste those. But I'm also going to show you how we can use the section tool within the model environment to create section perspective so we can get that peek into the model and maybe even create a three-dimensional floor plan. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get the next page set up. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go to pages really quick. So what I want to do is I want to make sure everything is set up exactly how it needs to be. I want to make sure this appears on my next page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say bring in my next page. So I'm going to go back. Actually, we already had that page, so we could delete this one. So we go to this page. I could see we're kind of missing some things here. So I'm going to go ahead and make this unique. So let's go to layers really quick. So we'll say layers. And this needs to be unique to this page, because once we add a new page, it's not going to no longer going to be A1, and I don't want me changing A1 on A2 to affect A1 on A1. How you like that riddle? But I want it to be unique so that every page we can go ahead and have a unique number. So I'm on the unique element layer. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say move to my current layer. So what that'll do, it'll probably make it disappear on the next page. Now I'm going to keep the A the same on every page. And this we can go ahead and keep blank because I'm just going to copy that over as well. So if we go back to pages, go back to this page, I can now come in and put in whatever I need. So I'm going to go ahead, select this. I'm going to say Control C, Control V. I'm just going to drag this over till it's centered in that rectangle. I'm going to double click it. And I'm going to type in 2 for A2. I'll hit escape. And now when I go back to this one, we still have A1. I can click back on this one, A2. So I want to get this one as well. So I'm going to say Control C, Control. I'm going to go back to this page and I'm going to say Control V. Bingo. See how that worked? So now I can come in here, and this one's going to be unique to this page as well. And now I can edit this one. And this one's no longer going to be perspectives and elevations. This one will be floor plans and sections. So we'll say floor plans and sections. Hit escape to accept it. Now I can go back here to our other page and I'll show you how that worked. So we'll see that, perspectives and elevations. We'll come back to this one, floor plans and sections. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this. So we'll right click, rename, and I'm going to call this one A2, following the format from my previous. And again, floor plans and sections. And we're in business. So I'm going to go back to this page. Everything's looking good. A2 makes sense to me. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring in our floor plans. So we can do that simply by going back to this page, and maybe we want to bring it in from one of these guys and kind of tweak our model as we go a little bit here. So I'm going to say Control C, go back to this page, and I can just copy it, Control V onto this page. We'll let SketchUp do some thinking here, and we'll drop this image on here shortly, and there we go. So now what I can do is I can come in here, I can double click it, and I can orbit around inside this model to a point. And I might not want these shadows. I'm going to get rid of shadows. And I can tell you, those floor plans that were actually hidden in our first couple lessons, or that were there that we hid, we need to go ahead and unhide those. So we'll have another quick lesson on some linking here. So we really don't need to get this one in place yet. So I'm going to delete this one for now. But I do want us to jump back to our SketchUp file. So now what we can do here is try to unhide those floor plans that we had in place. So I'm going to go to Edit, Unhide, might as well say All. And as we scroll out, we should be able to see these plans. So what we have here, these are DWG files. I'm a big fan of not redoing work. If I spent a lot of time working in AutoCAD or whatever software to create a DWG file, I'd like to reuse as much as I can, especially if nothing changes or things are kind of, pretty much remain the same. So what we have here, I kind of set these up. I click on this one, I'll right click and do Entity Info. This one is actually going to be my foundation. So footings, wall foundation, things like that. So this will be a certain number of floors. So this could be, I'll right click here and do Entity Information. This is basement level. And then this one here, if I right click it and go back to Entity Information, this is floors 1 through 5. I'll right click this one. This is floors 6 through 11. And you can see the change in floor plan here. It's getting more and more space as you go. And this one here, right click it. This is probably the ones on top. We'll go Entity Information. Yep, floors 12 through 15. So like 12 through basically the penthouse level. So we have 3 different floor plans, basically 4 different floor plans and a foundation plan. So now that we expose this again, I'm going to go ahead and save this as something almost the same as this. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to reference that new one so that my other pages aren't affected by the model that I'm referencing. So I'm going to say this, I'm going to say version 2. Or actually I can underscore it and I can say this one will be for floor plans and sections. So whatever I do in this view and whatever changes I make, it's not going to affect my other page. My other page is basically referencing that version of the model. So I'm going to save. And once that's saved, I'm going to jump back to Layout. And now what I want to do, actually, let's jump back to SketchUp one more time. And then I'm going to send this into Layout. So we'll go File, Send to Layout. And we really don't need to worry about a template at this moment. After all, we'll just basically get that image on there, and we'll copy it and then paste it, and we really don't need this file. So I'm just going to go with a real basic one here. And what will happen is another page will basically appear, another project, and we're in 2 different projects essentially. So now I have my image here that I can actually work with. But it's referencing a different model, so it's not going to affect what's going on my other pages. We'll keep that in mind. So now I'm just going to say Control C. I'm going to go to this project. Stay and make sure I'm on the right page here. I'll say Control V. I'm going to let it paste to this page. Once it's there, no worries. I can make whatever changes I need to make there as far as my styles and views. And I really don't need this one anymore, so I can actually close this out. But now we can actually reference a separate model here. And again, none of this stuff will be affected. So in the next lesson, we're going to start working out with our floor plans now that we've set the stage for this set of drawings.